What's up guys, David Gen 3D Tech here. Welcome to the channel. Today we'll be checking out two very unique mouse pads from Dornfinger. They're made of soft Cordura and 5.2 millimeters and come in a control and a speed surface. Anyways, without further ado, let's check it out. I'm very excited about this review and these mouse pads, mostly because they're very different than the other mouse pad that I have in my collection, which is well over 50 mouse pads now. And it's not just, the same old hybrid pads that I've mostly been seeing. I do know there are fans of Cordura, which these two pads are made out of, and those people may enjoy these pads, but I also believe these pads are basically Cordura for people who don't like Cordura. And so just because it's Cordura, I would consider giving these mouse pads a shot, because the thickness, I believe, is one of the main reasons why that these feel different than other Cordura pads. The other difference is the actual feeling of the pad. A lot of the other Cordura pads either have kind of a coating feeling or oily feeling, and these are very dry feeling. I totally believe both of these pads are going to be very long lasting pads. So if you're someone who's annoyed by a mouse pad wearing down very quickly, then these might be a good investment for you, because I believe that these are going to last a long time. We have two different surfaces here. The top one right here, which is the rougher of the two surface, is basically the control pad, and it's surprisingly slow. The one on the bottom has a smoother surface, and it's definitely faster, but it's definitely not as fast as other Cordura pads that I've tried and or that I have in my collection. I do have a couple Cordura pads to compare it to. This is the In-Game Gear MPC 450, and I've been pretty disappointed by this pad. I've had this for several months, and I've set things on it, and it just, as you can see, it won't lay flat. No matter what I do, it just never will lay flat. I mean, it doesn't seem, it's just more annoying than anything, and it's very fast. But the surface of it does feel like it has either some sort of coating or feels a little oily compared to these two pads. And it's very thin. I believe this is a 3 millimeter pad. I could be wrong, but that's what it feels like to me. Then I also have a couple esports Tiger pads that are Cordura, that have the Peru base, that are also very fast. And those eSport Tiger pads feel like they have a coating on them. And I do like those pads quite a bit. And as you can see, size-wise, the In-Game Gear pad is much smaller. Both of these pads are 500 by 500 millimeter, which is becoming a very popular size. There's the base. It's pretty nice. It's very spongy on the bottom. And as you can see, it's extremely thick. The stitching also is very nice on this pad. It's not raised up very high, so when you get towards the edge, it doesn't really stop you. And the stitching quality all the way around is pretty good. Again, this is the control pad, and then this is the speed surface. And the base is the same. It's also very squishy on the bottom. However, it is a bit firmer. The control is a little more squishy than the speed pad on the top. They also both have this Cordura label. They both have this Dornfinger logo on it, and it's slightly raised. I don't know if it'll wear off, but it's possible. But this is such a large pad that I doubt you'll be having your mouse over on this section very often, so it may not get worn off if you are not someone that uses the far corner of your pad. Here's a close-up of both of the surfaces. As you can definitely see, it's much rougher on the control pad, and then very smooth on the speed pad. The other nice thing about both of these pads is they're extremely easy to clean. you get any hair on there, it just brushes right off. Any dust, it just brushes right off. And you can just take a wet washcloth, warm washcloth, and just about everything that's hit this pad has been easy to clean. These pads are definitely ones that I wouldn't hesitate to give to children, because I think they're going to take a lot of abuse and they'll be easy to clean. Price wise, both of these pads are 40 euros, which I believe is somewhere around $45 American. And then the shipping is like 17 euros, and it's going to take a couple weeks most likely to get to you. So all in all, you're going to spend probably about $65 for one of these pads, and that puts it in the artisan pad level. But for the money, you will get a little bit more pad size wise than an artisan pad, so I guess that's one advantage. But again, the price is very expensive, so you do have to consider that. If you're someone who doesn't care, you just want to have the best, I believe these are the two best Cordura pads that I've ever tested. Unless you're just considering speed, the speed pad I would say is about a 7 out of 10, and I definitely have other Cordura pads that are faster than this. But at the same time, a lot of those pads are a little hard for me to control. So this speed pad right here, in my opinion, is one of the fastest pads that you can still control really well with. So it's one of the best overall pads I've ever tested. And this control pad, I might like even more, especially for tack shooters, because it has extremely good control and it's very consistent. Since it's not cloth, it's Cordura, it's consistent everywhere on the pad. And the accuracy that I had on this pad was the best of any pad I've ever tried. The only thing I didn't really like about the pad is it's definitely a little rougher than what I care for, and I don't like to wear sleeves typically, but this surface after about 20 minutes was starting to rub my arm kind of raw, so I do recommend that you wear some sort of sleeve. It doesn't have to be one of those fancy sleeves. You can just wear a long sleeve shirt, which is what I prefer myself, and it works just fine. Now, if I had to choose between the two pads, I think I would choose the control pad, but it's very close. If you like a little bit more speed and you prefer games like Apex Legends, the speed pad probably a little bit better for games like that. Honestly, if you can afford both, then you'd have the best of both worlds. I know people are very skeptical of these pads because they think they're very thick, and I was concerned about the thickness too, but they're also so big that you can just drape it off the edge of your desk like that, and then your arm doesn't hit the edge. But even when you do have it on the edge, and even when the edge of the pad is rubbing up against your arm, I felt like the stitching on this pad was very comfortable and it didn't bother me. That again, it wasn't that part of the pad that was bothering me on the control pad, it was the rough surface. Just from talking to other people about these pads and Cordura in general, there's a lot of negative talk about them, and just people have a lot of negative opinions of them. And other than the esports pads like the Woogie 2 and the More pad and Blaze pad, those are really the only Cordura pads that I enjoyed. And I believe that a lot has to do with the base on those pads, even though the Peru 1 pads slide around quite a bit. The Peru 2 base fixes that issue of sliding around though. And I believe there's going to be re-releases of the More pad and the Woogie 2. So here's the 3 Esports Tiger pads that I have that are Cordura surfaces. As you can see, the Dornfinger Cordura pads are much larger. The Blaze pad is definitely the fastest of all these pads. And then the More pad is definitely not as fast as the Blaze pad. And the Woogie 2 is slightly slower than the Blaze pad, but faster than the More pad. This is the Peru 1 base and then the Peru 2 base. And this base is very slippery, and the only surface that I found that this doesn't move around on, because it moves around on your desk and most mouse pads, is a pad by the mouse pad company, the Samurai desk pad. It's a very similar surface to the Esports Tiger EBA pad. which has a lot of texture. It's really rough, and so it keeps this from moving around. Now the new red one on the Blaze, it doesn't move around. It actually kind of sticks to, at least to my desk, it sticks to the desk. So problem solved on that. And I believe these two pads will be getting this surface at some point. And I think there's a Grandmaster pad also that has this surface now. Anyways, in game, I've been using both of these pads for the last couple weeks, and I've really been enjoying them. And quite frankly, I was surprised by the performance of the pads and the fact that I just like the way they feel and the consistency of them. For now, I'm probably going to be maining both of these two pads when I just want to, play, and I'm not trying to test something. I'm just playing for the fun of it, or I just want to have the best performance. The size is amazing, the base is decent, and the surfaces are what really shine. The stitching is also really nice on these pads. Again, it's also just something quite a bit different feeling than all the other pads that I have. The softness of this Cordura, it's still hard, don't get me wrong, it still feels almost like when you slap it down, that it doesn't move very much. It doesn't feel like a cloth pad completely. It's almost like a soft hard pad in a way, yet you pick it up and move it around, it's malleable. The other Cordura pads with the Pro base, you can't bend them, otherwise they get permanently messed up. These you can actually fold up. These were shipped in a large box, and they unfolded, and there was just a tiny bit of roll on the ends, and they went flat within about an hour. One other thing, there is a little bit of a smell because Cordura is a petroleum byproduct. So it does have a bit of a gas kind of smell for the first few hours. It was gone for me in about 2 hours, and now I don't really smell it at all. So, but just wanted to warn you, if you pull it out, you might smell that, but just know that if you air it out, it will go away, which is not completely uncommon on a lot of mouse pads. Another thing I'd like to point out, this pad was done in collaboration with the Whale, and he has a version of this pad on his website, which basically lacks the Dornfinger logo on it. It's the exact same pad, has the Cordura sticker on it. It just doesn't have the Dornfinger logo. If you're interested in either one of these pads, I believe the price is the same at each shop. However, I have been told that the shipping really varies from one shop to the other. So you might throw these pads in the shopping carts on both of the sites just to see which one might be cheaper shipping wise for you. Hopefully you may be able to buy these pads in the States on either Lethal Gaming Gear or perhaps Amazon. I'm not sure, but I know that Dornfinger has sold on Amazon before. So at some point maybe you'll see these there. I'm not sure. And like I said, I know Lethal Gaming Gear might carry them. I don't know for sure. But hopefully there'll be an option to buy them in the States. So if the price of the shipping is too high for you, you might consider just waiting a little while, and maybe they'll be available in the United States for a lower shipping cost. Another great thing about both of these pads is they're extremely humidity resistant, which is another plus. If you're someone that lives somewhere where there's a lot of humidity and heat, or you sweat a lot and you have trouble with cloth pads, both of these pads, you're not going to have that problem. Dump a little bit of water on here. Wipes right off. So yeah, it's the same on both of the pads. I've already tested it, so no worries when it comes to humidity. And if you're looking for a pad that's humidity resistant, then these two pads might be a great option for you. So there's a lot of pluses here. You've got two different versions. You got a speed and you got a control pad. Oh, and on the control pad, I would say speed wise, if you're curious how fast it is, it's definitely the slowest Cordura pad I've ever tried. So just because it's Cordura doesn't mean it's fast. See, it has a lot of stopping power. This, I'm telling you, this control pad has amazing control. I would say this is a 4, maybe 5 out of 10 speed wise, maybe 4.5, somewhere around there. It's definitely not a mud pad, but this is definitely a good balanced pad. So in conclusion, both of these pads, I'm going to give my highest recommendation for these. The only consideration really is whether or not you want to pay the price, because like I said, they're not cheap. It's going to probably run you about $65 to purchase these and then get them shipped over to the United States, and it could be quite a bit more in other countries. I've heard people say that the shipping is really high to other countries, but you'll just have to go and look and see what the shipping is going to run you. I'm just letting you know what it cost me, but there's a lot to like with these pads. 500 by 500 size, 5.2 millimeter base, excellent stitching, extremely durable, extremely humidity resistant, amazing surfaces. You got the control, you got the speed. As I said, negative wise, price, and the control surface, it isn't as comfortable as I would prefer, but sometimes that comes with the territory. You know, I have a couple other pads that are really good control pads, like the Eva pad and the Samurai pad, that the surface is not the most comfortable on your skin. And for me, comfort does mix into the equation quite a bit. I have a couple pads that are some favorites of mine that are above average performance wise, but the feeling of the pad is amazing, and I really like those pads because of that. The speed pad on here is definitely the better feeling wise. It doesn't really bother me. It's not super comfortable, but it's not uncomfortable. But really, the performance of these pads is what's amazing about them. Again, the size and the quality of them. I truly believe that if you haven't liked Cordura in the past and give these a try, I think you're really going to like these pads. And I think these pads are kind of flying under the radar right now, and I definitely think they're worth a try if you have the money for it. Again, these are not cheap, so especially if you go out and buy both of them, it's a good chunk of change. Anyways, if you like these pads and you want to purchase it, I'll have links in the description for both of the shops you can buy them at. Again, this is the Dornfinger pad, and again, the only difference is just the logo. And that's about all I have for today. I hope you found the review enjoyable and informative, and if you liked it, please leave a like, and if you want to sub, go ahead. It doesn't matter to me, but of course I would appreciate it, but I'll be doing these no matter what. So I got lots more reviews coming, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Later.